I failed the 11 plus and I went on to get 3 A stars at A level and I'm now studying at Cambridge University.
I'm the leader of a group of head teachers, CEOs of multi-academy trusts and school leaders, and we do not believe in grammar schools and we don't believe in selection at 11.
I helped to coordinate the national response to the expansion of grammar schools proposed by Theresa May in 2017, and I oppose grammar schools because I think they undermine social mobility.
When I hear that people say the 11 plus is a fair system, my main thought is, what about the others? What about those who weren't selected? What about those who failed the test? What happens to those people? What happens to their careers, their lives, their happiness? It's a neglect. I strongly disagree that the 11 plus assesses academic ability correctly and fairly. Mine was 2 tests, a verbal reasoning and a non-verbal reasoning. And it focused so much on patterns and identifying which patterns were prevalent in the question. And some people's brains just don't work like that.
I think it's ridiculous to give children a test at the age of 11. It's ridiculous for all sorts of reasons. One is children mature at different stages. Secondly, it creates this notion that you are a failure. For 75% of children going away thinking they're a failure when they're only 11, that's absolutely ridiculous. We know that children mature at different stages. We know that they continue to improve and that the sky's the limit if their teachers believe in them.
So I have a problem with the 11 plus exam because parents can basically game the system for their children. A lot of people have extensive tuition. That tuition costs money, and it's the people with money who are able to sort of get their kids ahead in terms of that system. So for me, in any education system, you want to minimise the impact of wealth and money in terms of accessing opportunity. We've got to examine why politicians really like the idea of grammar schools being an accelerator for social mobility. In part, it's probably because of some of the stories and personal stories that many politicians have about their own opportunities. But if we take a step back, children on free school meals are actually underrepresented in grammar schools. But second of all, there's been a number of studies that show that the improvement in terms of grades if you go to a grammar school compared to if you go to a comprehensive school actually isn't that significant.
I went to a secondary modern school and had to change after I took my O-levels to take A-levels, and I needn't have done that if there'd been a comprehensive school.
All pupils are taught together in their first few years in mixed ability classes. Each of these first formers is at a different stage on different experiments.
How do you react to the claim that the comprehensive schools are not equalling the exam successes of the old grammar school, secondary modern school system?
The claim is simply wrong. Various people have tried to establish that point. I regret to say, on the basis of what I've seen of their calculations, they simply haven't established the point at all.
Would you have got into a grammar school at 11?
Probably not.
And yet you're doing 4 A-levels?
Well, hoping to.
I don't want to go back to the 11 plus because I think that was an unjust selective system.
I am passionate about abolishing 11 plus because I think it's extremely divisive. I had 2 children go to grammar schools, and I think the expectation is that they are offering this fantastic education, and I think the reality is very, very different. I think that a lot of the education is not particularly inspiring. I think that a lot of it is it's all about tests, teaching to test completely. And I think that when you break down and ask the other parents, what exactly do you mean by they offer a better education? I think what they would often say is, well, they get fantastic results, therefore they must be a great school. But of course they're going to get better results because actually they've creamed off a certain percentage of their cohort. So actually the actual work that they're doing in the school is not really a reflection of their actual education that they're delivering.
I've been researching pupils' lived experiences of taking and failing the 11 plus. They considered the 11 plus test unfair. So to the participants, it didn't really marry up with school. it didn't marry up with their Key Stage 2 curriculum at primary school. It presented a test that only had 2 outcomes, pass or fail, which was very different to grades at GCSEs, levels at Key Stage 2, etc. They were also aware of it being high stakes in terms of, on the basis of that pass or fail outcome, you were then sorted, if you like, into you go to this school, you go to that school.
Scene 6, take 3.
I know people who had aspirations to be journalists, to be lawyers, before they went through the 11+ system, and now they just assumed that that's not going to be the case anymore. And they went, right, that's not an option anymore. For most people in selective areas, grammar schools prevent them from being able to move on to the careers they want to.
Saffron Walden County High School, which is one of the most highly attaining schools in the whole of the country, and it's about that investment in one school, in one community, and everybody being behind that. And if we had that replicated right across the country, it would be revolutionary. I don't understand why, government after government hasn't been brave enough to finally commit itself to comprehensive state education.
I think schools should be engines of social mixing. If we look at the big challenges we have, we're struggling to see the humanity in people who may not look like us or come from our backgrounds. So schools have an amazing role to play in helping at an early age get people to mix together, understand each other. The alternative is you have silos. You have people who were able to get their kids into sort of grammar schools. Those kids probably will go to universities, which themselves might be quite selective. And so you could go for a whole period of your life not actually meeting people who are different. And me personally, on a personal note, the first time I sort of met people who came from a different background, I went to a comprehensive school, wasn't until university I met people who went to private schools or who came from different parts of the country. That was great, and it greatly enhanced my life. I wish I had that earlier, but for me, I think we've got an opportunity now to really build that system going forward.